Welcome to Her Health Code. I'm Jess.
And I'm Michelle. And today we are going to talk more about food and how to get some healthy food on your kitchen table for your family, and how to do it to save money, and how to do it without like overwhelming yourself in the grocery store. So, Jess, you were telling me earlier about your bread dilemma. You were in the grocery store and you're like, why are there so many choices of bread? Like, everybody likes a sandwich, right? Everybody.
Every now and then,
Yeah.
right? And it is a good lunch to send with your kid every now and then.
Mhm.
So yeah, and if you're at a grocery store that has 1,000 options, how do you choose? How do you narrow down the window? And I just think it's important to have many different options, like different levels of options, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we make our own sourdough at home? Of course we could.
Mhm. And I do love sourdough.
I do too, and it's so good for your gut, and it breaks down a lot of the gluten. So even people with gluten intolerances can generally have a sourdough
Yeah.
and not be bothered by it. But that's not always an option, right? To make
Yeah.
our own and to nurse the sourdough,
Oh,
the mother,
yes.
the starter.
Yes, it is hard and it is time consuming,
Yeah,
but it is definitely worth it if you have the time and if you want to put it toward, making your own bread.
yeah,
You just do need to be a little careful in the grocery store, because the sourdough a lot of times in the grocery store isn't real sourdough. They're using yeast and they're using a lot of other ingredients. So my favorite place to get sourdough, of course, is like a bakery or an online bakery. Um, those are my two favorite places to get it.
yeah. If you don't have a go-to neighborhood bakery or someone in your neighborhood, you might even want to just get curious and find out, is there
Yeah.
someone in my neighborhood who bakes bread and has it available once a week to go
Yeah,
pick
that
up?
would be amazing.
If those are not available, if none of that is accessible and you still want to be able to eat a high quality bread, I like to just look at ingredients that are from the earth, right? It grew on the earth. There's nothing foreign on the label. If I don't know what that word is, it is not a word
It's
that
probably
means food.
I think that's a great way to look at it. If you don't understand what the word is, your belly's not gonna understand how to digest it.
Exactly. Right. Your stomach also doesn't know that language.
Exactly.
The chemical language, the
Exactly.
synthetic chemical, and all these synthetic chemicals, there's so many of them, and you're
There
talking about
is.
on
There's
episode
so
1 how
many.
overwhelming it is to have to remember all of them by name
Yes.
so that you can be a detective every time you go to the grocery store and, like, spend
Yeah,
2 hours
it's
reading
too
labels.
much.
Yeah, so if you pick up a thing and there's tons of ingredients, I just put that down.
Yeah.
Like, that is too many ingredients, and there's something not good in there. And then you kind of maybe start getting to the point where you're like, okay, here's bread that looks a little bit more homemade, a little bit more wholesome and healthy. And you are looking at it going, okay, that's not an overwhelming number of ingredients. Hopefully less than 10. That's kind of my rule
Yeah.
of thumb, like as little as possible, but you know, 10 is kind of my cutoff. And can I read everything? Do I know what it
Okay.
is? And also, like, just a caveat, like, I buy Dave's bread for
Okay, so
my
I was
son.
just gonna ask you, you like Dave's bread.
Yes.
Okay, that is your
It is
choice.
organic.
Okay.
All the grains and seeds that are in it, I like. And it has 21 seeds and it's whole grain and so it has more than 10 ingredients, but they're all
Mhm.
like seeds and nuts
Okay.
and things like that. So I do that and Ezekiel.
Okay.
It just kind of depends on what using it for. So
I do
what about
like
you? What do
Ezekiel.
you
I
like?
I like Ezekiel products in general. Like, they have tortillas and they have bread, and they're made with no flour, which
Right.
is what I like too. And
Hmm.
so I like Ezekiel because it doesn't give me that bloated feeling that bread can typically make you feel like, oh, I just ate so much.
Yeah.
And so I like Ezekiel for that reason. I use it for all kinds of things, and I keep it in the freezer because I don't eat bread very often.
Good tip.
And then you always have it available and you don't let it go bad sitting on your counter.
Right, because these breads are not gonna have all of the different things in them to make them last on the shelf for 10 years. All
Mhm.
the chemicals that are going to extend the shelf life for way beyond when it should actually be
Yeah,
living without mold. So that's an example of one of the things that
yeah.
you'll find in those funny names is the preservatives, the things that make it, like, maybe bouncy and spongy, right?
Yes.
The mouth feel, the perfect texture, the
Yeah.
perfect look, like, I'm sorry, that is just not normal,
Yeah. I
right?
do think there has been a lot of companies in the past, I think, using that ingredient that creates the sponginess in a yoga mat in breads to get
Right.
that same kind of boing, and that is absolutely
Yeah.
disgusting.
No, thanks. Your gut
Yeah,
does
no thanks.
not want to be eating a yoga mat.
Yeah, no thank you. So, what are some other products that we can help people with that maybe, they don't have time to make at home?
I think, anything that you need to just have quick on hand, like a pasta, right?
Mhm.
I have a pasta maker.
How many times do you use that pasta
I
maker?
used it during COVID. It was
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
It was a fun project. I haven't used it since, to be honest. And I think, yeah, every now and then it would be fun to pull it out and make it a project. But I'm not going to do that on a normal, like
Weekday night?
weekday night. We're going to have a little spaghetti or something of that nature. And
Yeah.
I'm Italian, so I do have a pasta dish a couple times a month. I just want to make sure that it's, you can look on a box of pasta and you're probably not going to see a ton of things on it that you don't know what it is. However, I always do like to go for organic when it comes to anything that is wheat or a whole grain. You don't want it to have been sprayed while it was growing, and they also spray it when it's harvested to dry it out. Did you know that?
Well, I know that the wheat that they've made in the last 20 years, or I shouldn't say produced, is not the same quality meat that or quality wheat that was back
True.
20, 30 years ago.
Ezekiel.
Yes.
Yeah, it is
So
not the original
yeah, I
grain.
really do think it's almost like you have to be a food detective
Yep.
today. Like in today's grocery store, you have to really pay attention to what is going in your body and your family's body.
Yeah.
And so we try to give you tips and tricks to try to make it a little easier to make mealtime and snack time a little easier for you ladies at home.
Is there anything else that you would say you definitely always try to make sure if you're going to buy this item? What else do you look for?
Well, I do have a sweet tooth, as we've talked about
Yes.
before. And so I really love like the creamy, sweet texture of like an ice cream,
hmm
but most ice creams are not quality ice creams. And so that is something that I kind of make in my blender. And you can make that with a variety of different ingredients with like coconut milk or heavy cream or, and
Fruit.
fruit, and you can make the most delicious sweet dessert that tastes and looks like ice cream and make it in your blender.
Yeah, you can definitely do little easy, simple hacks like that. You don't have to get out your ice cream churner.
Exactly.
Now,
Yes.
again, a fun project,
Fun thing.
especially with the kids, like,
Yes.
but not going to do it every time you have that
No,
sweet
it's
craving.
too much.
It
It's
is
just
too
too
much.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's way too overwhelming. But on the regular, though, I probably do that at least 2 or 3 times a week with like a smoothie version type ice cream, I would
hmm
say.
Use bananas as your
Yeah,
base for that
bananas.
creamy kind of
Mhm.
frozen structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
and bananas, even on their own, are very delicious when they're
hmm
frozen, like, it is very
True.
good.
That's true. If you're in a hurry.
Yes, if you're in a hurry, just a frozen banana.
Right. Yeah. And you can even use it with yogurt. I like to do the blueberries with yogurt, and then you
Mhm.
can just blend that up, and it's like a blueberry
Yeah, it's so
frozen
delicious.
yogurt.
So delicious.
It is. But I do the full fat, Greek
Yes.
yogurt if possible, or just regular yogurt, but always full fat because, our brains like that good fat.
Oh, our brains love extra fat, like good healthy fats. It's so good for us.
That's another thing I was just thinking about when I said that, just kind of popped into my mind is that would be one thing to look for on a label is that it's not low fat or fat free. That
Yes.
was a big trend
I feel like they
back in the
really
90s.
get you with that whole like low fat. And I think they get it in your brain like, oh, if I eat low fat, then maybe I'll lose fat. And that's actually completely wrong. You should always be going for a more whole fat version because that means it's less processed. Because
Mhm.
when they take out the fat, they actually have to add stuff in there like sugar and preservatives and some other fillers to make it taste good, to have a good that good mouth feel.
Right, the good texture. So
Yeah.
that's definitely things that you'll find in foods that are non-fat or low fat even
Mhm.
are those added. extra things that are just not something that our bodies really want, nor need, nor recognize. So,
Mhm.
and when we're narrowing things down, I think that, you're kind of just looking for those basics, right? Like, I'm not going to make my own pasta, not going to always make my own ice cream, not going to bake my own bread, don't have a bakery that I can go to, maybe often enough. So, these are the things that you're going to be pulling off the shelf. And you just want to make sure that the ingredients are good, and that, I would always advise too, like, to look at organic and non-GMO as often as possible because of the glyphosate, and also just hybridized things like you're
Mhm.
talking about. Like, wheat has been hybridized throughout but kind of in a natural way, right? Like,
Mm.
they've grafted it with something else to make it more durable for weather. And so that's okay. Like, whole wheat, yes, it is not the original, but it's still better than, right? It's still like better than the
Mhm.
alternative, which is a genetically modified,
Absolutely.
right? So GMO is a good thing to look for on a label if you can't get organic,
Yeah,
so
so
that it
GMO is
hasn't
what
been,
we don't want.
yes, so that hasn't been tampered with by
Ah,
chemists so that it can withstand being sprayed with chemicals
yes,
and
exactly.
not
So
die.
we want to avoid that. So
Not have that.
those are some great practical, useful tips on just getting a couple of your staples where, they can be a quick staples. And that way you can integrate that with all your whole foods that you're cooking and
Mhm.
serving to your family, your fruits, your vegetables, your meats, your whole grains, and
Make it accessible.
make it accessible. Exactly.
And also, when you're saying that, I know a lot of people are probably thinking now, like, okay, non GMO, organic, whole foods, all these things are kind of pricey, right? I know we were talking a little bit earlier about how to balance that out. And how do you balance that out in your budget?
One example that comes to mind first is frozen fruit, or
Hmm.
I mean, fruit in general. So I love berries, and berries I think are so, so good for us. They're full of antioxidants, are
Yes.
great for your skin. And I love them.
Yes
But
to
in the
all
winter
that.
time, they're so expensive and they're
Yes.
out of season. And
Hmm.
so in the winter time, all through winter, probably November all the way through like March, I buy frozen organic mixed berries and
Hmm.
keep them in the freezer. That way they don't go bad,
Yeah,
and you're always getting fruit at a reasonable price.
I agree. That's a great tip because then you're getting organic
Mhm.
and you're saving money and you're still getting the fruit. You might have to make it into a smoothie more
Yeah.
often, or a smoothie bowl.
Yeah.
I really like to do the bowls, because my son doesn't always want to drink his fruit.
Yeah.
And so either making it into something with a little bit more liquid, adding a kefir to it, and then that way it's kind of like a more like, it's almost like a protein shake, but N you still get the fruit, right? So you could do that, you can make it into a bowl and then eat it
Or
instead
you
of
could just
drinking it
let them
mixed
thaw
in.
out in a bowl, like and
You
that's
do
a
that?
lot of times what I do is
Oh,
I stick
okay.
them in a bowl, I go have my shower, and they're defrosted and delicious to eat by the time I get
Interesting.
down there.
Literally never done that.
Frozen mangoes are amazing.
Ah,
Oh, that is a great night treat. So,
see.
yes, I do love my frozen mangoes. So, that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I find that I can save money on because, again, fruit in the wintertime is very, very expensive.
It
So, other than
is.
my frozen berries in the winter, I'm only really buying apples and oranges and bananas.
Me
And that's
too.
pretty much about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all that we really have. Yeah, that's definitely a great tip, also for vegetables,
Mhm.
because sometimes, it's just quicker to not have to wash the vegetable and do all the things. It's quicker to just like put it in your steamer and steam it really quick, right?
Yes,
Yeah, not have
absolutely.
to chop and wash and do all the prep work.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I do have one more tip, Jess,
Okay.
and this is my tip about herbs. So for the longest time, I was not buying herbs on a regular basis because I was just like, they're so expensive and I use it one time and then the rest goes to waste because I don't cook with the same herbs every single day. And so now my money saving tip today is you can buy as many herbs as you want, clean them, wash them, and then put them in freezer containers. Keep them in your freezer with a label, and you can pull those out anytime you want them.
It
I
is
have
true.
fresh thyme, fresh dill, fresh sage, fresh, parsley anytime I want because I can just yank it from my freezer bag and put it in a dish.
Yes, I agree with that because It is so frustrating when you go in
Right?
and they're, like, all slimy and gross.
Yes, and you're like, "I just only use this once," and it's so frustrating.
Mhm, just
So
make sure that they're super dry
yes,
because you don't want the water to freeze on them, but once they're
exactly.
super dry, it's yeah, just throw them in the freezer. I do
Mhm,
that with, ginger too.
mhm.
For juices and smoothies, I like to just keep my ginger after I've washed it, and you don't even need to peel it really,
Yeah,
but you could. You can peel it off the frozen ginger is actually quicker with a spoon.
mhm. It really is.
Yeah, and, I like to keep my ginger and turmeric in the freezer as well.
Mhm.
So and I don't know, I guess that's kind of it's not an herb, it's a spice,
Yeah.
but it's kind of along those same lines. That's a good tip. Also, let's talk a little bit about seed oils because you might look at a label and say, "Okay, it's
Mm,
an organic product. I know everything that's in here. I know what all these things are." And it's kind of deceiving because like sunflower oil, canola oil, those type of things, palm oil,
yes.
right?
They are sneaky. I call them
They're
the
sneaky.
sneaky,
Mhm.
very sneaky, and the reason why is you could look at, say, for instance, an organic hummus. Now this one gets me because I love hummus, but there are so many brands of hummus that are using canola oil or hydrogenated oil, which are completely unnecessary. Hummus is made with extra virgin olive oil.
Yeah,
Like that is how it's made. There shouldn't be
that's how
any
they're
other
picking it
oils.
up.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any other oils in your hummus. And if
Yeah,
you're having hummus with all these other oils, you're missing out on all the amazing health benefits of hummus.
it is true.
I
So
know.
that's a sneaky one.
That is a sneaky one.
And it's in your peanut butter too.
Some
So
peanut butters.
some peanut butters, not
Yes.
all of them,
No,
but
yeah.
it is in the no stir peanut butters, palm oil to
Yes.
keep it from separating and
Mhm.
even in your organic peanut butter. So here you are thinking, okay, it's organic in glass, all the things. And then, oh, no stir. That's good because if my kid opens it and they stir it up, it's going
Yeah.
to be all over the counter, right?
Yes.
Well, not so much because the palm oil is added to it to make it not,
Yeah.
separate. So
Again, another sneaky thing. They're
another
just
sneaky
trying
thing.
to get your mind at like it's going to be easier for you, but in the end run, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
These little shortcuts, because I mean, you want to look for a peanut butter that just is peanuts and salt. That's it.
That's it. No
That's it.
sugar. Doesn't need
Yeah.
to have
Doesn't
sugar
need
in
to
it.
have anything other than peanuts, salt.
And then it's good for you.
And then it's, and then it's good for you.
Yes, just keep it simple. And
Yeah.
also, I like to, when we maybe talk a little bit about sugar
Hmm.
being added to things,
Another sneaky
obviously
ingredient.
it doesn't need to be added to peanut butter, but it can be, right? It is
Yes.
sneaky. And my rule of thumb is like 10 grams or less. How about you?
Yeah. I try to keep it very low as well, but
Mhm.
if it has sugar, which the ketchup that I get from Trader Joe's has cane sugar in it.
Mhm.
So I definitely think the type of sugar is important too.
True.
So cane sugar, I just feel like it's actually just what it is. It's not trying to deceive you like with
It's
some
not
weird sugar name.
processed,
Yes.
overly processed.
Yes.
Yeah, weird.
So I am fine with a little bit of sugar as long as it's real sugar in my ketchup.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of fake sugars out there. Like corn syrup is like one of the worst that drives me nuts. You go
Yeah.
to a restaurant, they're always serving you Heinz, and Heinz is loaded with corn syrup.
Yeah.
So bad.
Another sneaky ingredient,
Another
right?
sneaky ingredient.
Yeah, because you expect it to be in cereals and things of that nature
Yeah.
and candy.
Yeah.
If you're not buying, right, the ones that use cane sugar, but you're not expecting it to be in your ketchup.
No.
So definitely
No.
look at your ketchup as well and your peanut
Yeah.
butter, all the things that you're thinking, oh, this should be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And yes, it is a little bit more pricey on the budget to be buying these more high quality, less chemicals, organic. But the thing that have kind of come to a realization over the years because I struggled with it and I grappled with it at first too. And I was like half and half. And then I was like
Hmm.
talking myself into, oh, but it's okay to do this and it's
Yeah.
not organic. Here's the thing. Like if you're actually eating more real whole food and fruit and vegetables, the need for other food, like which is generally always going to be kind of more of a processed food in a box or something, becomes less because your body is full and
Yeah.
it's happy because it got the nutrients
Satiated.
that it needs
Hmm.
from the whole foods. So as much as possible, just kind of get those whole foods into your cart first and then add in whatever it is that you can't make yourself And then ask yourself after that, right? Like,
Yeah.
what was the thing we were talking about, which is your new rule of thumb that you were saying, a mindset that you've recently really adopted?
Oh,
So
well, I think
I think that's helpful, right?
yeah,
Like at this point,
I
here we are.
do
We have like the whole foods and we have our organic ingredients and we have, the minimal, the bread and the pasta. Then what?
well, I
Then
really
it's
think
all
it
about
comes
mindset.
down your mindset. Like
Yeah.
what is your mindset when it comes to how you want to prepare food or how you want to shop for food? And because ideally it's the woman typically that is buying and cooking the food. And so it really comes down to asking yourself that question. Is my ultimate priority health and wellness and to make my family and myself thrive? Or is it just to get it on the table as quick as possible, get it in their mouth because I don't want to think about it. Or if you're somewhere in the middle, and that's okay too. But I think just sitting down with yourself and asking yourself that question of like, what is my priority being the food provider of this family? And it really does help navigate through all these little things with, types of bread and what are we going to have for a treat or a snack or,
The
the
temptations.
temptations, and I
Hmm.
think having that certain mindset it sets the tone for you grocery shopping and cooking and, really offering, certain foods to your family.
Yeah, I think that mindset is an important factor because if you have the mindset for health and eating for health and nutrition, I think it makes it all easier.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. When you're not just putting something in your mouth because you're emotional or you're
just hungry.
upset, you're hungry, you're actually being mindful of it. Like, oh well, I haven't had any vegetables today. I think I need to add this. And
Hmm.
and then you're, being curious about what you have in your fridge and that's where the creative part comes in, right? Then you're like, oh, I can mix this and mix this and mix this and doing which my favorite thing is to just cook without a recipe.
Right, exactly. So, mindset is definitely
Yeah,
always key factor whenever you're wanting to make changes in any behavior, I think. Just
absolutely.
kind of checking in. Where is your mindset? And it's okay if it's not like 100%, but just knowing where you're at and then honoring that and having grace for yourself and just
Yeah.
being in a place of acceptance of where you're at and not putting pressure on yourself, but just having that awareness. And then maybe, eventually it's like, okay, now I can shift a little bit more into a different place, creating more meals on my own and less boxed food and less processed food.
Mhm.
And it's just a journey. And you kind of need to keep checking in with yourself all the time. I find myself at times being like so burned out and so overwhelmed that I'm like, okay, prepared foods at Jimbo's.
Yeah.
Where do I find that aisle? Right?
Or I also think you need to have like one place where you feel like a takeout place is super healthy. So if you're in that mode of like, I don't have time to cook dinner, I need something healthy on the table, like you have to have your go-tos, like,
Right.
right? That you're like, okay, I can go spend $30 and I can get a healthy meal on the table that everybody likes. Done.
Yes, you have to have that place where you have permission. This is my go-to permission place where we're
Yeah.
at, where when I just can't.
I just can't deal. I just can't deal with what's on the table tonight.
It's also a good tip because
Yes.
we have to
We have to have all these tools in our
we have to
basket.
have the tools to give ourselves those grace in those moments where we're just like, I can't.
Yeah. I also love pantry meals where you go into your pantry and you figure out like, okay, I have some canned beans, I have some canned tuna, or I have some canned
A
yeah,
box of pasta
yeah, bag of
and some
pasta.
frozen
Yeah, and
peas.
some frozen peas. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw a meal together. Here
Yeah.
I go. And you just put, if it has some veggies and it has a protein and it has a starch, and you kind of use some creativity and a few salt and pepper spices and
And then my go-to is like, and then a sliced apple.
a sliced apple on the side.
Slice some apples and put them on the table, and then we're good.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
So yeah, those are the nights where it's just like,
I know.
okay, mailing it in,
Yes.
but doing it in the best way possible, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Well, hopefully some of these tips have helped somebody out there, and we just can't wait to chat with you again about many other topics that are coming your way. So until next time, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.